Bills Mafia, buckle up, because Day 3 of Buffalo Bills training camp delivered an emotional roller coaster that nobody saw coming. And by the end of it, we're left with more questions than answers, one very nervous fan base, and a handful of new names you need to know right now. So grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's dig into everything that went down. Before we get into the wild stuff, if you're new here, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. We are racing toward 9,000 subscribers in the next 3 days, and every single one of you helps make that happen. All right, let's get into it. Camp had been rolling beautifully through the first 2 days. The offense was clicking, the defense was flying around, and the energy at St. John Fisher was about as good as it gets for late July, early August football. Then, in the middle of a team period, everything changed in an instant. CJ Gardner-Johnson, the very safety Buffalo has spent the better part of 2 months and 48 hours of hype building up as an anchor of this new-look defense, went down. Here's what we know. Gardner-Johnson appeared to suffer a right foot injury, and there's real concern it could be something involving the Achilles. Cameras caught trainers working on the back of his foot and ankle area, which, if you know anything about football injuries, is never the image you want to see. He spent roughly 5 minutes in the medical tent before offensive line coach before head coach Sean McDermott's staff, including general manager Brandon Beane, walked over to check on him personally. Ultimately, Gardner-Johnson exited the field on a cart, but, and this is important, he was able to put some weight on the leg as he left. That small detail matters, because plenty of people on the sideline immediately jumped to the worst-case scenario. But here's the thing. The players closest to him aren't panicking. At least not yet. Offensive lineman Dawkins walked over to check on his teammate directly, and in a post-practice interview, he summed up the mood of the locker room perfectly. CJ is okay for now, but this is a scary business. Any single play can end somebody's entire season. That's the brutal reality of the NFL, and Dawkins knows it as well as anyone. Dawkins said Gardner-Johnson was able to get up and walk under his own power, and that the message relayed from the coaching staff was that the team would run their standard evaluation protocol before jumping to conclusions. Beane himself put it plainly. Nobody is going to know anything definitive until the MRI results come back, and even then, a second opinion may be needed before Buffalo makes any real declarations about Gardner-Johnson's outlook. Now here's where things get a little eerie if you're a superstitious Bills fan. This isn't the first time Gardner-Johnson has gone down with almost this exact injury during training camp. Back in 2023, during his time with the Detroit Lions, he suffered a strikingly similar lower leg issue on day 2 of camp. Then last year in Houston on August 7th, he was carted off again with what appeared to be an Achilles area injury. And in both of those previous instances, he bounced back and played out full seasons. First with Houston, then later with the Chicago Bears. So while the pattern is unsettling, there's also precedent here for optimism. Buffalo and Bills Mafia everywhere are now living in that agonizing in-between space, bracing for bad news while clinging to the hope that history repeats itself in the good way this time. So, what happens to a defense when arguably its most important new piece goes down mid-practice? The depth chart reshuffles instantly, and Saturday gave us a very real look at what life without Gardner-Johnson might look like, at least temporarily. Geno Stone and veteran Damar Hamlin stepped in and took over first-team reps at safety. Now, on paper, that's a little concerning. Entering the week, most projections had Hamlin as a potential roster cut, maybe ticketed for the practice squad if he made the team at all. He's a beloved figure in Buffalo for reasons well beyond football, but from a pure talent and scheme fit standpoint, seeing him thrust into a starting role opposite Cole Bishop isn't exactly the direction most analysts expected this defense to trend in. That's why all eyes are turning toward rookie Jaylen Kilgore. This kid has been making a serious case for himself since day one, and Saturday only added fuel to that fire. New defensive coordinator Jim Leonhard rolled out his dime package during Saturday's session, and it featured Geno Stone and Gardner-Johnson before the injury as the deep safeties, while Taylor Rapp and Cole Bishop worked the slot and apex roles. Here's the fascinating wrinkle, though. Even after Gardner-Johnson went down mid-practice, Bishop stayed right where he was in that hybrid slot apex spot instead of sliding back to a traditional deep safety alignment. That's not an accident. That's Jim Leonhard signaling exactly how much he values positional versatility in this new scheme, and it tells you Bishop's ceiling as a chess piece in this defense might be even higher than we thought. Meanwhile, Kilgore keeps making splash play after splash play. Thursday, he broke up 3 passes. Saturday, he added 2 more interceptions to his camp resume. That's 5 turnovers or pass breakups through just a handful of practices for a player who was a late 5th-round pick. Sure, some of that production has come against backup quarterbacks, but the buzz around this kid is real. One local reporter joked that opposing backup quarterbacks are going to start seeing Jaylen Kilgore in their nightmares, and honestly, that might be underselling it. There's a growing sentiment that Kilgore might already be a more well-rounded, more disruptive player than last year's breakout rookie sensation was at this same point in camp. He's not the only underdog turning heads either. Undrafted free agent Connor Wedden has reportedly leapfrogged another quarterback room competitor in the pecking order, showing sharp, consistent play through the first 3 days. And on the cornerback side, a speedster who nobody had projected to even make the roster before camp opened has been lighting things up with elite closing speed and physical competitive reps against the starters. Buffalo's secondary depth, especially at cornerback, is going to be tested throughout the season, and these young, hungry players are making their case at exactly the right time. There's more movement at linebacker, too. A rookie is quietly climbing the depth chart and could be in the mix for regular defensive snaps as a 3rd or 4th option at the position, something that wasn't widely projected heading into camp. And in a genuinely fascinating development, it appears that same rookie has already earned the green dot, meaning he was calling the defensive signals and running the huddle with the first-team unit. That is not a responsibility handed out lightly, and it says a great deal about how quickly this young player has grasped Jim Leonhard's new scheme. Speaking of which, let's talk about why all this scheme talk actually matters. Buffalo's defense has run some version of the same foundational system for nearly a decade under Sean McDermott. Now, with Jim Leonhard installing new concepts, shifts, and calls, every single player on that roster, whether they're a 10-year veteran or an undrafted rookie, is starting from a similar point of installation. How quickly this group internalizes those foundations could determine whether this defense is clicking by week 1 or still finding its footing come October. That question has loomed over this entire offseason, and training camp is where we start getting real answers. On the offensive side of the ball, there was actually some genuinely feel-good news to balance out the tension. Wide receiver Josh Palmer, who lost most of last season to injury, finally had the standout day fans have been waiting for, hauling in a highlight reel, one-handed touchdown catch. After 2 relatively quiet days, it was exactly the kind of statement moment Palmer needed heading into what could be a big bounce-back season. Tight end Dalton Kincaid continued his hot start as well, stringing together his 3rd straight strong practice, including a moment where he clearly separated from Cole Bishop on a corner route for an easy completion. When healthy, analysts consistently rank Kincaid among the most dangerous route runners at his position in the entire league. And Buffalo may want to think seriously about locking him up long-term before that breakout fully arrives. The offense also showed some real creativity Saturday, unveiling misdirection concepts including a flea flicker that caught the defense completely off guard after a few days of the defense controlling the line of scrimmage. It was a nice changeup and a reminder that Josh Allen and this offensive staff have plenty of tricks still in the bag. At quarterback, the backup competition remains murky. Veteran Kyle Allen, brought back largely for his familiarity with the system, has reportedly struggled through the opening days of camp, while his competitor appears to be the favorite to win that job right now. It's still incredibly early, but if the conversation around the backup spot is dominating headlines in August, that's rarely a great sign for the health of that quarterback room depth. So where does that leave us heading into the rest of the week? Buffalo does not have another padded practice until Monday, August 3rd, with Sunday off entirely. That gives the medical staff time to get CJ Gardner-Johnson in for his memory and start piecing together the real prognosis. Brandon Beane has been clear. Until that scan comes back, everyone, players and fans alike, is simply in wait-and-see mode. And with the annual blue and red scrimmage now just 1 week away, the timing could not be more crucial for this Buffalo Bills defense to figure out exactly what it has and what it might be missing. That's everything we know as of right now, Bills Mafia. It's a lot to process, I know, a scary injury, a shakeup at safety, and a handful of new stars emerging all in the same practice. But that's training camp for you. It's a roller coaster, and we're only 3 days in. If you enjoyed this breakdown, do me a huge favor, smash that like button, drop a comment letting me know how worried you are about CJ Gardner-Johnson, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single update from Bills camp this summer. We are so close to 9,000 subscribers, and I cannot thank you all enough for the support. Until next time, Bills Mafia, go Bills!